Do you know where the tallest building in Europe is? Well, it's not the Shard in London or the Commerzbank Tower in Frankfurt, or even Warsaw's brand new supertall, the Warsaw Tower. It's actually way over here, on the outskirts of St. Petersburg, a full 12 kilometres beyond the city centre. This is the Lakhta Centre, and at 462 metres, it's by far the tallest building in Europe, standing higher than the Empire State, the roof of One World Trade Center, and 3 times higher than the next tallest building in St. Petersburg. It's also the northernmost and probably coldest skyscraper in the world. So why have the Russians built such a colossal building, and why on earth have they built it here? This building is huge. The Lakhta Centre contains the largest volume of glass ever in a high-rise structure. There are more than 16,500 curved panes. Just to build its foundations took the largest continuous concrete pour ever, even more than was needed under the Burj Khalifa. An astonishing 20,000 cubic metres of concrete was placed over a 49-hour period, setting a new world record. Step inside and you'll find a sports centre, shops, restaurants, offices, even a planetarium. That striking twist in design made it one of the most technically difficult skyscrapers ever constructed. The building's actually at its thickest about a third of the way up, around level 17. Here, the diameter bulges by more than 2 metres beyond what it is at the base. Now, the tower's unique form takes its inspiration from the footprint of this fortress, a castle built by the Swedes in 1611 and sitting in what is now present-day St. Petersburg. That shape is then rotated a full 90 degrees from the base up to the very top of the spire. It means that every floor is slightly different to the one below it, and while that posed numerous challenges for the construction team, it's a shape that actually helps trick the wind, dispersing the considerable wind loads at such a height. That's actually why many supertalls aren't simply rectangular blocks. The wind would bat them about like a tall post in a storm. Having clever forms that are rounded or taper is actually good for stabilising the structure. Typically, a building of this height would require a damping system to keep it from swaying, but because of its unique shape, the Lakhta system doesn't need that. The northernmost skyscraper in the world also faces another, not entirely unexpected problem. The top of the spire has an open mesh to allow wind to pass through, but while that also helps with overall stability, it means that ice can accumulate here and potentially drop 460 metres to the streets below. A number of measures were taken to prevent that from happening, including special ice catching frames which were rigorously tested beforehand. Some of the ice is even collected and reused for the air conditioning. Now, unsurprisingly, building the world's northernmost skyscraper took incredible technical skill and knowledge in the field of engineering. If you're curious about what it takes to gain these skills, or want a glimpse at some of the complex math behind this spiralling supertall, then you could get a start thanks to this week's video sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant lets you learn by doing and offers thousands of interactive lessons in subjects like data analysis, AI, programming, and mathematics. Brilliant's learning platform is uniquely effective thanks to hands-on problem-solving techniques that are 6 times more effective than simply watching a lecture video. It trains your brain to think better rather than to simply regurgitate information. Learning every day is one of the best things you can do for yourself, and it's way better than endless scrolling. If you're interested in engineering, then why not take the How Technology Works course? Covering everything from GPS and video compression, you could even learn why some YouTube videos take a little while to buffer, like this one might have. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/the B1M or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Now, let's get back to the Lakhta Centre. Now, from a distance, the building looks like a ship setting off into the Gulf of Finland. But others have pointed out that it looks like a flame, which would be quite apt, as this building is the headquarters for what was once the largest natural gas company in the world, Gazprom. Gazprom is Russia. It's the biggest company in the country by far, and has all sorts of problematic links to the state of Russia and how Russia asserts itself on the rest of the world. But that's too many oligarchs for us to get into in this video. The point is that this skyscraper, while housing offices for the country's largest company, also serves another purpose. It's a symbol. Towering 462 metres above the Gulf of Finland, its top 117 metres is actually unusable space and is just the spire. That's the part of a skyscraper that's typically called vanity height, and it serves no purpose other than to extend the height of the building. Now, while this isn't the worst example of vanity height, that would arguably be the Burj Khalifa's 200-metre spire, it does illustrate how important it was for Gazprom that this building not only dominates St. Petersburg's skyline, but also that of Europe. The skyscraper is intended to anchor the start of a new modern city away from the historic centre of St. Petersburg. There are actually plans for 2 more skyscrapers next to it, standing 500 metres and 700 metres tall respectively. Although with the current state of Gazprom, those towers might be some way off. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has meant many countries are refusing to work with Russian companies. Sanctions have hit Gazprom hard, and the company reportedly lost $7 billion in 2022. Now, the idea of building a sleek, modern, Manhattan-like downtown away from picturesque boulevards is pretty common in Europe. As a whole, the continent doesn't really like skyscrapers and has never really embraced them to the same extent as the US and Asia. Instead, it treats them like a kind of dirty secret that's tucked away from view. Paris has its La Défense, London has distinct clusters like the City and Canary Wharf, and Milan has the Porta Nuova district. Russia, meanwhile, has maybe one of the largest examples of this already with the Moscow International Business Center, or Moscow City. First conceived in 1992 after the fall of the Soviet Union, Moscow City is a designated area of the Russian capital for skyscrapers. Once an industrial wasteland full of abandoned factories, the area is now home to the highest number of skyscrapers on the continent, with 6 supertalls all right next to each other. Just this area alone contains 7 of the tallest buildings in Europe. Moscow City was 45% empty for some time, according to estimates, and is plagued by issues, including a lack of connection to public transport thanks to its out-of-the-way location. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine set to wipe 15 years off economic progress for Russia, the future isn't exactly bright either. Many companies have left the country and closed up their offices in Moscow City. Europe's other financial districts are facing an identity crisis in the wake of the work-from-home revolution and the post-COVID slump in office occupancy rates. Canary Wharf in London is having to rebrand itself and build more and more residential high-rises. We're seeing cities around the world move away from the idea of zoning, of having separate areas where people live, work and shop. Mixed-use districts, where all of these activities and types of buildings can exist in one place, are what people want and what people now expect. So what's to be done with the Lakhta Centre? The other skyscrapers meant to surround it may never materialise, but it remains an example of impressive engineering and incredible vanity, even if there isn't much else around it. This video was sponsored by Brilliant. You can learn more about that at the link below. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.